This is the fourth dialogue between J. Krishnamurti and Alan Naudet in Malibu, California, 1972.
So if we may, I'd like us to speak today about the Upanishads. I know this isn't something you usually speak about, but many people have asked certain questions.
For the simple reason, sir, I haven't read them.
Yes, sir. Many people have asked questions about them, and if you don't mind, perhaps without saying that this is the authority of the Upanishads, perhaps we could just examine a few statements which come into the Upanishads and which have been the most important thing in the lives of countless millions of people through the centuries. The Upanishads say, sir, that there is only one reality. That this reality, whether we call it God or Brahman or whatever, is all there is. That the world is illusory as an independent reality, but real as consciousness, as Brahman. And they say also, we are essentially that Brahman, part of that Brahman. And all the great sages of India, all the great teachers of India have in a way been a commentary, a historic commentary through the centuries on the Upanishads. And if one looks at all the great teachings of all the great sages of India, there's this unity in them.
You mean you're saying they have based the background of their teaching is the Upanishad?
They haven't always taught because they were conditioned by the Upanishads, but in some instances they didn't even know the Upanishads, and when they started teaching, they were confronted, of course, by all the orthodox Brahmins whom we know, and these Brahmins said, but you are saying the same as the Upanishads. And it did seem to emerge time and again that they were saying the same as the Upanishads. Even if they didn't know the Upanishads, they finally were saying the same thing, that there is beyond the mind, beyond thought, beyond the ego, a reality which, to use a Christian term, is God in the heart of man. And that this is the only reality there really is. Then they've also said that this is pure consciousness. They've also said that the world of form and names and time is illusion. They've also said the human ego is illusion. They've all come back to saying there is only one reality, and that is God. And that is consciousness. And we can know that within our hearts. And it can only be known when the ego is silent. And so one gets notions of silence, one gets notions of space, one gets notions of timelessness, and the illusory nature of form and space and the universe, which to us seems so tangible. Would it be possible at all to speak about that, sir?
Yes, sir. So, what is the question?
The question is, is this essentially different from what you're saying?
You're asking, sir, aren't you, whether what the Upanishads, the Gita, the various scriptures of India
and the Middle East,
the Sufis and all that,
yes.
Are they similar to your teaching? Is that what you're saying?
Or are they in contradiction to
Are
your
they in
teaching?
contradiction, similar, and so on?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I haven't read any of them. Secondly, are we approaching this from a point of view of authority, in the sense, because of their ancient established traditional assertions, And so they have become extraordinarily authoritarian and accepted and revered? Or are we looking at it from two people, one who has read these things and doesn't accept them as final authority, but merely is willing to investigate, explore the truth of their assertions in relationship to what is being said by K.
Yes.
So we both of us are examining.
Yes.
You on your side, knowing, having read all the various scriptures, perhaps deeply,
Quite a few of them, not all, sir.
most of them,
Most of the important ones.
most of the important ones, and K not having read them, and is willing to explore together this whole question of reality,
Thank you, sir. We would be very
which
grateful.
is we move away from every form of concept, whether it is the ancient concept of the Upanishads, the Vedas, the Gita, and the various sacred literatures of the world, which are really formulas, concepts as far as people quote them or hold to them. They must remain in the world of concepts and formulas. Now, if you and I can move away altogether from this, if I may use the word abomination, of concepts, of formulas, but examine whether there is such a reality, whether there is a oneness of life, whether there is an absolute, irrevocable, unapproachable reality by the mind being thought, then we both of us are in a position of moving hesitantly with a mind that is not accepting or denying. So that we both of us are journeying, moving together into a realm or into a field where though we begin with thought, with reason, logic, where reason, logic, thought cannot possibly enter. If that is clear between us two,
Yes, sir.
then it becomes very interesting to find out, to explore into the question of what is truth. Not according to K or to the Upanishads, or according to certain saints, so-called liberated people, gurus and all the minor deities,
Yes.
or even the Shankaras of the world. It will become very factual and very real if our minds can begin with the clarity of thought, pursue it logically to its end, then see when the thought ends whether there is anything else.
Yes, yes.
Not according to the Upanishads and so on.
No. Not
But-
starting with a conclusion.
But starting with the examination of what the Upanishads, the Gitas, what the sacred literature of the world says,
Yes,
then discard them completely
that's right.
and move.
That's right.
Right.
Yes, sir.
First of all, the word is not the thing. The description is not the described. That must be clear between us.
Yes.
Right. Now, can thought ever capture or enter into the field of reality?
Obviously not.
Why do you say obviously not?
Because
Wait, sir, go slow because this quite.
Because reality contains the faculty of thinking, and therefore thinking cannot contain reality. Reality is a part.
It all
Thought is
depends-
a part of reality.
It all depends what you call reality.
That which
That
is.
flag is flying there on that hilltop.
Yes. Yes.
That's a fact.
It's a fact.
That's real.
That's real.
Real in the sense
It is
a
there.
visual perception.
You can go and touch it. You can
You can go
smell
and
it. You can.
and both of us see it,
Yes. Yes.
and all the three of us see it.
Yes.
It is not just I see it and in bed.
Correct.
Therefore, it is not a personal perception.
It is not an idea or a personal perception.
Yeah. Therefore,
It is not dependent on the person.
dependent on the person. Therefore,
It's not part of the observer, as you would say.
Yeah. therefore, we must see together, the three of us,
Yes.
whether thought can enter into a field or if there is a field which is the unknown, which can never be described in words. So we have to go,
We have to find out whether thought can go beyond itself.
yes,
Obviously
means
not.
can thought naturally, not with any motive, with any purpose, with any direction, with any volition, so can thought come to an end by itself?
Yes.
That's the first thing we'll have to investigate if we are going to find out if there is anything called
Beyond
the
thought.
real.
Yes.
Is that possible? Can your thought and her thought naturally, easily, without any effort,
Subside.
subside?
Obviously it can, because it very often does. There are moments in the day when one is not thinking
Yes, but
in terms of anything about something.
when thought ends, is there the real? You said just now that thought that does end. It happens often during the day, casually, when the mind isn't occupied with something or other. It ends. Is the ending the beginning of the real? Or
Or
is
has the real a beginning and an
Beginning.
end? Or is it perhaps that thought is contained by that which was always real
Therefore-
before it started and after it ended?
Therefore, that's
in other
what-
words, the casual is not the ending of the thought, but the casual is the thought itself.
that's just what I want to point out. that when we say it ends during the day,
it's much better to say it happens.
It happens,
It
or whatever it
happens
is.
in a
it may
limited
be,
sort of way
it
during
may
the
be-
day.
Sorry, there are several things involved in it. It may be that your conscious mind is not aware that it is thinking.
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it is not.
Therefore, conscious mind may not be aware of it.
Sometimes
Or it
doesn't.
may be that the unconscious is thinking, of which the conscious is not aware. When we talk about thought ending,
Yes.
it is the ending of the movement of itself, both at the conscious, at the deeper levels of consciousness.
Ah, this is interesting. So are you saying this? If we say that thought ends, we must be quite sure that this is true.
That's
Because we may think it ends, and this may only mean we are not aware of it.
that's all.
And if it really ends, it must end consciously
Right
and
through.
unconsciously. Therefore, it is not enough to say, I'm not aware of my thought. One must be able to say, there is no thought.
Yes. So one must
We
be
see there are two different things entirely.
entirely.
The one thing is, I don't know, I'm thinking, and the other thing would be, I really am not, there really is no thinking at all,
At all.
consciously or unconsciously.
That's why it's very important, because when you use the word casual during the day, it may be the mind tired, the superficial mind tired, relaxed, quiet, and thinks it is the ending of thought. But whereas at the deeper levels, deeper layers, it can be moving.
Of course, one sees that even on a walk, when one is not preoccupied with a problem, thinking goes on all the time.
So,
Because one is recognizing the walk, one is indulging in soliloquy
Yes, sir.
with
All the rest of it.
trees and the grass and so on.
so
So really the ending of thought is a much more difficult affair than it would
much
seem.
more subtle, much more
Profound.
profound than merely stopping at
A
some
conscious
level.
preoccupation. Understood.
So can thought end right through one's consciousness? And mustn't it end for something new to be observed?
Of course.
Go slowly,
It
go
must end if one will find out if there's something else.
Yeah. So,
That is
Our
why
first-
thought cannot find out if something else is.
our first concern is to explore consciousness both at the superficial level and at the various different layers,
Yes,
so that we understand right through,
yes.
and therefore can say, well, there is a cessation of thought
Yes,
completely,
yes. Thought, feeling, and so on.
and right
Yes,
through.
Yes. Cessation of the self.
I don't want to use the word self yet here.
Yes.
I'm just keeping the word thought.
Yes, sir.
Now, how is one to find out?
This is very interesting.
How is one to be aware, not as the observer being aware of the thing observed, but be aware in the choiceless negative sense that the whole structure of consciousness is completely empty and still.
Would you mind explaining, sir, why you say not as an observer being aware, but without an observer?
Yeah.
Because the observer is again thought.
Yes. So we'll have to. When I said that, I mean, I meant not observing as an outsider, looking in. When you look at a shop window, you're looking from the outside
At something else.
at something else, at your dress, hat, whatever it is.
Yes, there's
The-
this duality of me and it.
Now, that is one way to observe.
Yes.
There is the other way to observe, which is the hat, the dress, the dhoti, whatever it is, aware of itself.
Yes, sir. This is very important. So you are asking, sir, can we observe to the greatest depth of our consciousness, not as apart from it, but as being it?
Yes, as it. So, can the mind observe itself and be aware of the conscious levels and the deeper levels
Right to the bottom. as it were.
right to the
And
depth of its being, so that it knows where conscious thinking ends and the next layer begins, and so on.
But sir, isn't that knowing itself a conscious operation?
No, I don't think so. I think it is conscious operation means I'm conscious of that tree there.
Yes. Volition is involved.
You know, not only volition. I'm conscious you're sitting there,
Yes.
or she's sitting there. I'm conscious the trees, the hills, the flag.
Yes. What I'm asking, sir, is how can the conscious ever examine the unconscious?
I'm going to go. We're going to go in.
Because while there is examination, it is always of the conscious.
No, I'm going to go. We're going to go into that. You can observe these many layers, or these several layers, under the microscope of thought. And so there is the thought looking through the microscope at the object,
Yes, commenting,
commenting, dissecting, arguing,
recognizing,
and all the rest of it,
cataloging.
which is the observer
Separate.
observing
Separate.
the observed, which is the observer separate from the observed.
Yes.
That's one way of looking,
And in that case, the looking is always conscious.
conscious.
Yes.
Whereas when the observer is the observed, there is no consciousness as the observer.
Yes.
This we must be very clear.
It's a very subtle point, but I think
We've got it.
that I'm following.
Right, then we can move then. So how is the mind looking at itself? Is it looking as an observer, different from the observed? Or is it looking
Without
without
that
the
difference,
observer, and therefore there is only the observed?
without the separation. Perhaps
No.
at this stage, sir, you could tell us how we may be certain that the mind is looking at itself without that separation.
Oh, I don't think you can be certain. Don't put it in terms of being certain, because then you fall into the trap of absolutism. I don't know if you follow what I mean. If you say, I must be certain
Then again, it is the observer.
observer,
Well,
that
sir,
means,
I'd like
wait,
to put it
look at it,
differently
look at
then.
it, go
How
slow,
may we-
go slowly. That means you want to be sure. That means you want to be sure and satisfied, comforted, established,
understand, sir.
and feel that
Again,
is
there's a separation.
yes.
Then
All
how
that
we
you-
say, how would one tentatively
I'm not sure. All that you
proceed to observe without the separation?
All that you can say is, I'm going to look,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to watch, I'm going to see. Not see in order to be certain.
Of course.
It is a good point, this,
Beautiful point, sir.
because otherwise we get lost into something else. So, can the mind observe? Do it, sir. Now we are doing it. Can the mind observe itself without the division of the observer. And then he becomes aware, doesn't he, that this whole movement of different layers are so interrelated, they can never be separate from the conscious, unconscious, deeper.
Exactly. This is so, sir.
Yeah.
Another thing, yes.
So it's a river moving. It's only the man sitting on the bank that says, that gives a name to the river and watches the water flowing outside himself. But he feels himself the river. There is no naming. He is part of that movement. So can the mind be so aware, without any choice, of all the layers of consciousness? Because consciousness is thought. Consciousness is the content of thought, which is knowledge, past, present, future.
The point is that at whatever level, when there is thought, there is an observer. And if one is aware of thought without an observer, there is nothing to be aware of.
You not quite, sir.
Because there is no thought while there isn't.
Don't come to any
an
conclusion
observer,
yet.
sir.
Don't come to any conclusion yet.
Yes, sir.
Don't ever come to any conclusion.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
You follow, sir? And we fall back on the Upanishads and
Yes,
the
sir.
Gitas and all the rest of it. What we're trying to find out is there ending of thought? If there is any content in consciousness, and any content makes consciousness. I don't know if the content of consciousness is consciousness.
Yes.
The two are not separate.
Yes.
There can be only a statement, not a verbal assertion or a realization, when the content of consciousness has emptied itself completely,
Yes.
and therefore the ending of thought is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Now
But when one knows the ending of thought, this again is thought.
of course, that's what I said.
So can one ever know?
No, see, I did not say. Therefore, I say, can consciousness empty itself of its content?
Yes, sir. And you say also that when consciousness is empty of its content, there is no more consciousness, because the consciousness is its content.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We've reached quite a point.
Now, how is the mind, which is made up of the content,
Which is its own content.
which is content, which is the content, whether 1 or 10 or 100, how is that mind to empty itself of all its content?
The real question then is, how is mind to stop? Or one could say, how is content to stop? It's the same thing.
No, I want to put it differently. My consciousness, your consciousness,
Is its
and
content?
is the content.
Yes. Is thinking.
Is the content of tradition, of the myth, of the character, the tendency, the memories, the know.
The mind is what it thinks, as it were.
Yeah. All the content.
Yes. Yes, sir.
the culture, the anti-culture.
The thoughts known and unknown.
Yes. Now, can that be emptied ever? And if it cannot be emptied, then thought has no ending.
Right, sir. Now, sir, we've come to a very important point.
Yes, sir.
You've said that the whole of our culture, all our memories, all our tendencies, all our character, all our temperament, all this is in the mind, all this is the mind, all this in fact is thought, all this is there whether we know it or not.
That's right.
It's either conscious in acting
That's
or
right.
it is
That's right.
unconscious.
That's right. That's
And
right.
you're saying, can all this somehow disappear? And if it disappears, there's no consciousness left, because this is consciousness. And you're saying also, if it cannot disappear,
Thought
well,
cannot.
then we've come to the end of the whole discussion.
That's right. Until that's a fact.
Yes.
As the fact, there is a hill.
Yes.
Until this is a fact, not a
Not
conclusion,
Not a theory.
not a theory, not a conclusion. As factual as you are sitting there.
Yes.
You follow?
Yes. That thought has ended.
That the content, the mind has emptied itself of its content.
Therefore ended.
Yes. See
When
what,
this is
sir,
so,
see-
there will be no one to say this is a
we're
fact.
going to find out. We're going to find out. Don't come to any conclusion. We're going to find out.
Because that which
Well,
recognizes...
I don't know anything about it. We're going to find out. You see, this, they say, through control, through discipline,
Yes.
through subjugation, through imitation, this will
Through
come.
some system, of course. This
Oh,
is
therefore,
ridiculous.
therefore discard it.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Because who's going to
I
discipline
mean,
whom?
that's too.
It's like the left hand trying to pull away the right
that's
hand.
too immature, too thoughtless a remark.
Indeed.
Now,
And this whole country is full of people
It's
who
really-
run to all kinds of institutes for what they call training, and this is illusion.
this is
You
the
can
most.
learn to dance. Or,
When you see this, and when humanity is doing all that, you say that is illusion.
in other words, there is no training in thought to end thought.
That is illusion.
It is illusion. You can even mathematically.
Of course,
Show the
obviously you don't have to.
Yes. Thought will never end thought. Spaghetti
So-
machines will always make spaghetti.
So, can the content of the mind empty itself? Now just hold on a minute, sir. So they say, it can be done only slowly.
This also is absurd.
It's an evolutionary process.
It's absurd.
Wait, sir,
Because
look at
we'll-
it, don't call it absurd. See what the world is doing.
Oh, yes.
And go to a guru, he will teach you how to end it. You follow? All that is process of evolution. And that, in that sense, evolution is illusion.
Yet this brings us back to what we said yesterday. There was a point when you didn't say what you're saying today.
Yes.
And then at a certain time you did say what you're saying today. Therefore, there was an event in time which made the difference. And also, I think that there was a process of human maturity, because you did change during that time. You became more and more sharp. You became more and more awake. You became more and more responsible, or whatever it was.
The body
You didn't
was
just
about-
wake up one morning and speak this way.
No.
There was a process which wasn't your doing, which wasn't the result of volition. One might say it's like the ripening of the pear on the tree. Whatever it was.
It is natural.
Yes.
Now, let's come
But you
back
didn't
to
bring it about
No,
by
no, no.
manipulation of the mind.
So let's come back to this. Is this, can the mind, consciousness, empty itself? Otherwise, the idea of ending thought remains merely as a word and an idea,
A fancy.
fancy.
Yet another thought.
Therefore, push that out. You see, sir, what we have done? We have discarded illusion.
We have discredited the illusion of thought ending itself.
Discredit? No, just don't
with-
trans. Do 2 minutes. We have put aside the idea, put aside the illusion that time, guidance, control, suppression, imitation, following is an illusion, which, and therefore it can never empty the mind of its own content.
That's right. We've
We
done
have
that.
that-
We've done that. That's
we-
established.
See what that does to the mind. You have discarded, the mind has discarded the whole cultural illusion.
No, the mind has discarded sadhana, as it is called.
Sadhana,
Processes.
discipline, processes.
Yes. Yes.
Discarded it.
Discarded all processes of ending itself.
Therefore, you have ended time.
Yes.
Now this, go slowly, go slowly.
You have ended the element of time in the ending of thought. Yes. Of course.
Go slow. Look at it, look at it. So the mind is now, has now put aside the element of time as a process, which will empty the mind. You have the mind has put aside the whole idea of discipline. You follow all that.
Yes. Obedience, conformity,
authority.
imitation, authority.
All the rest of it is. So what has
Understood.
happened? What has happened to the mind that has actually discarded this tremendous weight of illusion?
It has understood something.
Therefore, what has happened?
Much clearer.
No. What? So don't be too quick. What has happened to the mind? Do watch it, sir. That has discarded this weight of tradition, this weight of becoming, myth, guru leading, authority, all that, discarded, put it completely away from you. What has happened? That is the content of the mind. Wait, sir.
We have simply discarded
What,
a recipe
we
to
have
end the content.
No, we have discarded some of the content
Some
of
of
the
the
mind.
content. Some
That's all.
of the content.
Yeah, we have
The
discarded.
content had all its
Wait, sir,
connected past, and among that was the idea of ending it through disciplines. We've discarded that part.
No, we have discarded much more than that. We have discarded authority. The mind has discarded authority,
Yes. Time.
time, effort,
Yes.
conformity.
Yes.
Now, discarded it. Therefore, the content is not so heavy.
Yes.
So that's gone. Then what else is there in the consciousness? In consciousness.
Temperament.
Wait, go slowly.
History. One would say all the tendencies that have always been there. Perhaps in modern language they would call this the subconscious. And
What
so on.
else is there, sir? Look at it quietly.
Everything else which constitutes the self, sir, is still there.
This is part of the self
Yes, part of the self has been dealt with.
dealt with.
The self's recipes about itself have been dealt
Has
with.
been operated,
Yes.
and the wound has no mark.
No
has
mark.
left no mark.
There's no wound.
There's no wound. That's why has
Now
left
what
no mark.
remains is the self.
Now wait, sir. Don't translate this self. Please go slowly, not too quickly. It has left no mark. Therefore, the mind has operated upon itself, cutting itself and leaving itself empty without any content.
No, sir.
Wait, partly.
Not yet.
I said partly,
Yes,
sir.
yes, sir.
Go slowly, sir. then what is the other part? Is that not the major part?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because desire is part of that. Desire says, I must become, I must achieve, I want to empty the mind so as to reach
Yes.
heaven. So with that operation, you have also put aside desire.
Yes.
With that operation also you have put a...
So sorry, sir. We have put aside a particular recipe. Have we put aside the desire to end the mind?
I have no
Because
desire.
This is what we were speaking about since the beginning of this discussion. The ending of consciousness in all its layers.
I have no desire to end consciousness. I've only...
But we said that we were going to find out
Find
what
out?
is beyond
Yes,
the
we're
mind.
going to examine.
But
It's
unless
a-
we have the desire to go ahead, we cannot examine.
Not at all. Not at all. We said thought is very limited. Thought is never new.
Yes.
Thought is always old.
Yes.
It's only with the ending of thought something new can take place.
Yes.
New flower, new vision, new
New
whatever
observation.
new
Perception.
perception, so on. In that there is no desire.
Yes.
But when I say,
It's
when I
understanding instead. Yes.
no, there is no understanding. You say that's a fact.
Fact, yes.
I don't have to understand the fact of that hill. It is there.
Right.
But when mind says, I must empty myself of the content, then desire comes in. So we have, in examining the content, we see how much of the content is this, that is time, desire, process, achievement,
Yes, sir.
all that.
Yes, sir.
In discarding that, we have very few things left in the mind.
Are you saying, sir, that having discarded what you call time, we have also understood that time is the very element of the mind?
That's right.
And in discarding time as a recipe, we've discarded so much of the mind,
I
and
don't
we
see-
discover that the rest of the mind is also time.
Yeah, I don't see why you call it a recipe.
The recipe of getting rid of thought with a guru, with a system, with... So
We
these are
said
recipes.
that, discard. When
We've
you
discarded
discard
that.
authority, you discard all systems, all
Recipes,
methods,
yes.
all formulas.
That's what I meant by
Yeah.
recipes.
You
Systems.
discard all that.
Mm.
Because that is so.
Yes.
It's like the rain that washes away clay.
Yes.
In the same way, your mind has washed itself of that.
Mm.
Hmm? Now, is there anything left?
Everything else in the mind, sir.
What is that?
All our problems,
Wait, sir, slowly, slowly.
all our problems, all
What
our
is your...
recognition.
Go one word at a time. Problem. Hmm? Have you a problem when you have discarded achievement or time? When you have discarded authority, when you have discarded comparison, imitation, conformity, all that implies fear, is there a thing called problem? You meet. One meets the trouble that certain people are creating at Oha. One meets it.
Yes.
It is not a problem.
But just a minute. It may be that I am still upset about it.
Then it becomes a problem because you
Yes.
want...
Now, we have discarded in this discussion.
See, no, go slowly, sir. This
All
is-
we have discarded in this discussion, sir, is methods of ending consciousness. But we have not thereby discarded everything we were going to end.
We're going to find
Now
out.
then you say, what is it that we were going to end? Consciousness. Then you say, what is left in consciousness? I say, I'm worried about my wife. I'm worried about these people that are threatening me. I'm worried because of this and that. Or I'm hopeful. Or I'm frightened. Or I'm lazy. Or I'm lonely.
Sir, these all becomes problems, aren't they?
That's right, sir.
I am saying, is there a problem? Problem in the sense, a thing that's not resolved, that is worrying you, that is upsetting you, that
filling your consciousness.
consciousness. A problem.
Yes.
Which means that you have to carry
Yes.
it over the next day,
Yes, sir.
emotionally.
Yes, sir.
You may,
Yes.
and so on. We
Yes.
call all that
Problems.
problem.
Yes, sir.
I
The
say-
mind is a problem is the mind, and the mind is problem.
Don't keep it simple. Is there a problem, or are there events which you are meeting?
Yes, sir. When we meet an
Wait,
event,
wait. You are meeting. There are events, incidents, happenings which the mind meets. If the mind is not, as we say, has discarded it completely, then you meet them. You may take time, you may take tomorrow, but you meet them without the sense of time, the sense of worry, the sense of fear, the sense of saying it must be resolved in this way, that way, that way. You meet them and
yes,
see.
yes.
Therefore, it's not a problem. That's what I want to get at. You meet it. I have to climb that hill. I climb the hill
Yes,
or
sir.
not.
Now, sir, all the things which we said were in consciousness when we started to speak are still there. They're still there. You named them yourself. The total remembrance of all culture. Everything that's gone into me from the start is still there. It has not disappeared because I have dealt with spurious ways of ending it.
Sir, that's what I said to you just now. Look at it, sir. This is quite interesting.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
No, quite right. Look at it, sir, this way. We said, can thought end?
That's right.
We said, thought may end at a certain level. But the ending of thought must be right through,
To the bottom. That's right.
which means
And then we said it cannot be ended by all these petty
No,
formulas
no,
which have been
no,
handed down.
no, we've said, what are the contents of consciousness? Because without the content make up the consciousness.
That's right.
If consciousness is the content,
Yes, sir.
then in the emptying of that content,
Yes.
consciousness has quite a different meaning.
Yes, sir.
It goes slowly. Now, we said, what are the contents? I'm not concerned at the moment the ending of thought.
That's right, sir. What is the content?
What is the content? We said this.
The whole of our culture.
Wait. We said time, process. What else would we say?
We said,
Imitation, conformity, comparison. I'm keeping to that point. And the guru, all that. I say yes. I see that very clearly. Mind sees that very clearly and has put it aside completely. Then it has got its own remembrances,
yes.
its own
Conditioning.
knowledge, conditioning. Then the mind tackles that then.
That's where we are now.
Now that's where we are. Now, I've discarded that. Now there are the contents of memories, remembrances.
Tendencies.
I
Preferences.
no, I don't want I'm going to step by step find out.
Yes.
Remembrances.
Yes.
Which is remembrance being imagination,
Yes.
contriving.
Habit.
Just keep it, these three. Contriving, imagining,
Mm-hmm.
remembering.
Yes.
Not keep those three.
Yes, sir.
Remembering. Mind must remember where the bathroom is.
Mhm.
Mind must remember the road. Mind must remember the words to speak. Mind must remember the technology
Yes.
it has acquired.
Yes. All useful knowledge.
Knowledge.
Yes.
It must. So, but knowledge becomes dangerous
Yes.
or corrupt
Yes.
when desire says, I must use knowledge in this direction in order.
In order to
To-
guarantee myself, protect.
Therefore, when certain part of consciousness is removed,
Mhm.
then I remember, yes.
Are you saying, sir, that knowledge is an impediment when it is used from a center feeling itself
That's
to be
all.
me?
That's all.
That's right, sir.
Therefore, I must have memory,
course.
remembrance. I may not have imagination,
Hmm.
unless I'm an artist or something of that
It
kind.
doesn't matter much if I have or not.
Not. Therefore, I don't contrive. Say, well, I'm going to do this to that man, I'm going to
Yes.
get this.
It doesn't matter.
No, not only, it doesn't occur.
I can't do it if a center called me is not using
That's
knowledge.
it.
It is only a center using knowledge which makes imagination and contriving.
Contrivance. So
Contraction.
I have seen this very clearly.
Yes.
So that is not to be discarded. I keep that.
Keep what?
Mind keeps
Knowledge.
knowledge.
Without it, we
Eh,
perish.
Therefore, see what has happened. Mind has discarded the use of knowledge as
Fulfillment.
self-fulfillment or
Protection.
as a means to self-aggrandizement,
Or
as a
perpetuation.
means of self-perpetuation,
Continuation.
as a means of self-identification with my work, my picture, my...
In other words, when the mind acts from the thought of self, then all knowledge is corrupted.
So I've seen that.
So are you saying, sir, that in our original consideration, which is to end thought in all its layers, we really don't try, we are not concerned with ending knowledge.
No.
We are only concerned with ending another kind of thought, which is the thought from a center called me.
Yes. That is.
And it was this very same thought from a center called me, which was hanging on to all these systems and gurus and
You've said
processes
that,
and
sir.
time.
So what has happened? Now, what are the other contents of of consciousness? The myths, the traditions.
Again, they don't matter at all unless I
No,
wield
no,
them
no,
from
no,
a me.
no, don't.
They are not
Sir,
myths. if
just don't say, I have knowledge.
Hmm.
Knowledge as something which has been handed down to me, as books, as this or that,
Yes, technical knowledge.
technical knowledge. But a myth is also part of knowledge, because
Only if I believe in it.
no, don't, sir, don't discard it so quickly. Go slowly.
Yes, sir.
That is the myth.
Hmm.
The Indian myths has held the people together.
Yes. Many of them. Many myths.
Many myths have held the people together. And when there is no myth, as in this country for the time being,
Yes.
people disrupt.
That's right.
Permissive and all the disruption.
Yes. A
takes
certain
place.
sort of disorder.
So, the myth which this mind has acquired because it was born in India,
Yes.
and with its caste system, with its all the rest of it, is there any remnant of that myth which makes the mind behave in a certain pattern, which brings about a certain stability in society? If there is that myth, then consciousness must continue to produce thought according to that myth.
That's right.
Therefore, there must be discarding of that myth,
Yes.
and yet have stability of conduct.
Yes.
See what I've discovered, what we have
Yes,
discovered,
yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Right. So I just
Myths are out,
out.
but technical knowledge is
And
in.
therefore,
Yes.
see what I've
And
discovered.
stability of conduct is necessary.
Therefore, the stability of conduct is not based on any myth, on any conditioning, but on facts, which needs no remembrance.
No, it needs remembrance of technical knowledge,
I said that, facts.
which needs, yes.
See what, so what have I left? What has the mind left now? Myths, including myths, the tradition, the racial inheritance, the various stories, the personal, the imagination inventing gods in order to behave
Yes,
properly.
survival and so on, yes.
And the communication between the conscious and unconscious is part of that myth.
Yes.
And all that.
All
I-
that's discarded
So
because
what
there is no desire from a sense
So,
of
so
God.
therefore, what's it, sir? So what have I left? What is the other content of consciousness?
Only facts,
Only facts. Ah, see the beauty of it.
yes, which is not consciousness.
Sir, just see the beauty of it. Only facts. The mind hasn't got to think about the facts.
Yeah, because if it
I mean,
does,
sir, see what it has happened. Mind hasn't got to think about the fact. It observes the fact. Observes the tree, observes the woman, observes the flag, observes not my flag, observes it.
yes, sir,
Facts.
yes,
Therefore, the consciousness is emptying, has emptied itself of all the content except the fact.
yes, that's right.
So, when fact is the only predominating factor, thought is
Non-existent,
except when the fact has to be used.
yes, which again is fact.
Yes, which say, look at that mountain.
It's a fact that you can plant a pole
See,
this way
sir,
and no other
what
way.
has happened to my mind? I've emptied, the mind has emptied itself of all its content except facts. Facts that you have hurt me, but I'm not going. You have hurt me. Full stop. Or, I don't, you have hurt me, it's forgotten. No, it's not important. So, as long as conscious, as long as we are mind deals with facts, the content is the emotional verbiage, the emotional garbage round the fact.
It's very beautiful, sir. Perhaps this is what you meant when you said some time ago, I've been wondering what is the role of emotion, and I've come to the discovery that it has no role at all.
So,
Sentiment.
now just see what has happened. Content has gone, only fact remains. Sir, so the mind is
Empty.
only with fact.
And there's
And
no
therefore-
mind.
Therefore, it is completely
Clean.
beyond thought.
Yes.
Thought it can use fact, badly or
You mean such a mind can use
fact
yes, can use fact.
only,
Yes.
not fact in the direction of a country, for a country,
Yes, that perverts
for a
fact.
family, for this, for that. Thought.
Yes.
So we see what is the function of thought, and when thought comes to an end, completely
Yes.
right through.
Yes.
Now, which means has thought ended? Thought has ended. That's far as I'm concerned. Thought has ended completely, right? through my-
Consciousness has ended.
As the me with all the
Yes,
circles
yes,
round it,
That's right.
all the circus round it.
Yes, yes.
then what is truth? That's what we are inquiring.
What is there? What is there now?
What is there now? Nothing.
Nothing.
And that's a fact.
Yes. Yes.
Nothing, therefore. That's the truth.
Yes.
But you see how we translate nothing.
We translate nothing in all kinds of ways. Sunyata, the void, which one therefore imagines, which is not nothing, but which is ambition.
Which nothing is emptiness.
Yes, and emptiness means no me.
No me. Nothing means space.
Yes, this is most beautiful.
That is true. A mind that has no space can never find truth. A mind that is not empty can never find the truth. Mind that is not completely still, in which the operation of thought is non-existence, can never find the truth. This is the thing that is the real thing.
Yes, sir.
And you listen to this, or you read it, someone reads it, and I say, I must have it. This is what has happened.
Yes.
And there comes the exploiters. Yes, you will have it.
If you follow
Do
me,
this.
for a fee.
Fee.
Yes.
Transcendental meditation,
Yes.
this meditation, that.
Scandalous.
You see, sir,
Peddling God.
peddling God. That is, a man sees the truth of this completely. Is that true? Then he talks inevitably to
Yes.
people,
Yes.
and they say, quite right. That
What am
becomes
I going to do to get that?
get that. That becomes an idea,
That's
a
right.
formula,
Yes.
a practice,
Yes.
a guru, an
All
authority.
kinds of perversions.
That is illusion. That is the world.
Yes, that's right.
And when the Upanishad says, when you say that's illusion, that is illusion.
Yes.
Not the world isn't illusion. I mean, that the hills aren't an illusion.
No, no.
But when I have physical pain, it's not an illusion.
No, no,
but
no.
it is an illusion, say, I want to be free from it, and I hope to God that I'll
There's
always
only one
be.
illusion, it's me. And it's the workings of me.
So, yes, sir. To remain with the fact.
Yes.
I have lied, which is a fact. I have hurt, which is a fact. When I know I have hurt, I won't hurt.
Yes, sir. And this is love.
You follow?
Yes.
It is not, it is saying, oh, I hurt because.
No, that's the self. So would you say that
See
love,
the beauty of itself.
love is the same as what you're saying? The love is
Yeah.
the fact.
Love is,
To
love
live
is
in-
a fact.
To live in facts is to love.
So when you are nothing, you love.
That's right. It's beautiful.
That means that, you see.
And when
When
you
you are
love, there will be
nothing.
order.
That's it. It so fits, it logically right.
Oh, it's beautiful, sir. It's as clear as crystal.
What time is it?
Thank you very much, sir.
It is the continuation of yesterday's discussion. Do you remember you were asking yesterday on the walk, is there nothing more than silence? And we said we'll talk about it this morning. There are several things involved in this. First, as long as there is an observer, there is recognition. When the observer says, I am silent, it is really not silence at all. And so, recognition as experience plays a great part. And when there is this silence of which we have been speaking, there is no recognition taking place and therefore no experiencing silence. Silence when recognized as silence, then there is division. So, as we were saying, can the mind empty itself of its content, therefore, which means the recognizing process So for most of us, it seems, silence is a cessation of noise. The noise of chattering, a momentary absence of the me when you're strolling down a street, or when you're casually and absent-mindedly looking at those hills. And this, it seems, is not really the silence of which you are talking about. Consciousness, as we said yesterday, is its content. And when its content, when there is no content, consciousness has moved to a different dimension, which is really silence, in which there is not the recognition as the me, the observer, recognizing something. Though we also said that silence can operate in knowledge. That is, the absence of the self is silence. That silence can function in the field of knowledge. And, as you asked yesterday, is there something more in this silence? Or is it just a sense of complete vastness, silence, space, and nothingness? You know, it's very difficult to answer this question, because one has noticed there's something immense in this silence, something that cannot be named, that cannot be verbalized. There is a movement in this silence. A movement that has no beginning and no end. A movement that is always new. new not in terms of old and new, as it is a living, rootless thing.
Real.
Real, it is changing, it's renewing, it is got tremendous energy and all that. What is important, it seems, is not what is in this silence, but that the mind can empty itself of its content. I think that is really one of the greatest things if man could tackle that. Because the mind is the most extraordinary thing. It has got such immense capacities, capabilities. When you see a destroyer, man of war, what thought has gone into it? What extraordinary capacity. The beauty and the brutality of it. All going to the moon. If we could apply the same persistent, continuous inquiry into this question of what the content is, and discover for ourselves that the content is consciousness, is the mind. And without any choice, without any effort, be aware of it. Then I think, then there is a possibility of totally emptying the mind of its own content, and therefore thought coming to an end right through.
Thank you, sir. This is very important, and it clears up a great many points. I'd like to ask you one question here. You have often said no seeking, and you have often said no effort. And this throws a great many people into disarray. But now you have said a persistent attention to the mind itself, a persistent attention to its origin, a persistent attention to its contents. So there is work to be done, and there is something that can be done. Because many people who hear you feel that they are somehow suspended in midair. You cut out, you take away from them all effort, all action, all directed attention with regard to what we may call religion, and so they feel somehow suspended. But I think that what you've said now will give them more clarity. You've said to apply to one's mind, to apply to one's consciousness and its content, the same careful deliberation, attention that went into the battleship. So there is, in fact, a great deal of work to be done, sir.
Great deal of work, sir.
This is what many people don't understand. They come away from a Krishnamurti talk and they feel somehow absolutely powerless. They don't know where to turn, they don't know what to do, because they say no sadhana, no following, no discipline, nothing to achieve, nothing to seek. And they say, and also they feel that their lives as they were before are senseless and useless, so they are suspended between heaven and hell, having neither.
Yes.
And now you are showing them, in fact, that there is, as it were, a thread which leads not in time, but which is the secret to some other dimension. And this thread is the observation of the mind itself, so that one understands how it can be emptied.
You see, sir, we equate effort with work.
And you're saying there is a work which is not effort.
That's all.
This is very important, sir.
There
You
is
haven't said
work
this
without
before.
effort.
There is work to be done.
Oh, tremendous work.
But there's no effort. We cannot, if we understand, we cannot follow sadhana, disciplines and so on. But we can inquire into ourselves. So there is inquiry.
There is
Inquiry is different from seeking.
inquiry is different from effort, from seeking, from achievement.
But this is very important. Seeking comes from a me.
Of course.
Inquiry is in its very essence without a me. This is very important. So three very important things have arisen. When you say the ending of the content of consciousness, therefore the ending of consciousness, you are not saying some vague oblivion.
No.
On the contrary, you're saying the beginning of life, the beginning of what is real.
That's right.
The second thing you are saying is that just silence is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of the story. Because in that silence there is finally the discovery of a movement for which there can be no words.
That's right.
And you're saying thirdly that there is work to be done to come upon this silence and to understand totally the anatomy of the me and of the mind and of thinking.
That's right, sir.
And these are three very great gifts
Right.
for which we all thank you, sir.
Will you announce that this is the end
This is the end of this tape. This is the end of this discussion.
of January 27th?
This is the end of the tape started January 27th,